Hi everybody, this is Algebra 1, Lesson 48. And in this lesson, we are going to cover polynomials, degree of polynomials, and addition of polynomials. Alright, so this lesson is just filled with a whole bunch of vocabulary words and new concepts without working a whole lot of problems. So I'm just going to try to go over this and give you guys examples of what this is talking about. So a polynomial in one variable is one term or sum of individual terms, each of which has the form of ax to the n. So remember, our coefficient is the number part, okay? Something times something else. So this is our numerical coefficient, so the number being multiplied by the variable, and that is the exponent of the variable, okay? And that's in the form of 4x squared. We've got our number coefficient, numerical coefficient, our variable, and then some sort of exponent there. And that makes this into a polynomial. It's in the form of ax to the n. The numerical coefficient is a real number, so the number part has to be a real number. So in this one, it's a real number because it's really -1, right? In this one, that's a real number. In this one, that's a real number. This -7 is a real number, and that -7 is a real number. The coefficient, the numerical coefficient is a real number. The exponent of the variable is a positive number or 0. So this one, 2 is a positive number, 3 is a positive number, 32 is a positive number, 4 is a positive number. This one would really be 1, that's a positive number. And this would be like x to the 0, and it's positive, or 0. So that means it doesn't necessarily have to have a variable, because it could be just x to the 0, which doesn't show up. Alright, so those are polynomials. A polynomial of one term is called a monomial. Mono means 1. So 4x squared, that would be a monomial. A polynomial of 2 terms, remember anything separated by a plus or minus sign is a term, so 1, 2 terms is called a binomial. Bi means 2. Okay, so we got 1, 2 terms, 1, 2 terms. A polynomial of 3 terms is called a trinomial. Tri means 3. And we've got 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 right there. Okay. Any more terms than that, like see if you have 4 or 5, those are just called polynomials. Polynomial is like a blanket term that would describe any of these. So these are all polynomials, but these are polynomials that are also binomials, and these are polynomials that are also trinomials, because I have 3. All right. These are not polynomials. Okay. This is not a polynomial because it has a negative exponent. This one also has a negative exponent. This one is not in the correct form. It has this z underneath. We can't do that. Okay. Because if we moved it to the top, it would be z to the -1, and then we'd have a negative exponent. Right? So those won't work. Those are not polynomials. Polynomials in one or more unknowns. So we have more than one variable, one or more than one variable. So if it says more than one unknown, unknown always means variable, have the same restrictions as polynomials with one unknown, one variable. So even if we've got more than one variable, we still have to have the numerical coefficient must be real numbers. So that's a real number, not the exponent, the numerical coefficient. So here, that 4 is a real number, that -11 is a real number. The exponents of the variables must be whole numbers. Okay, so here's an exponent. It's a whole number. There's 1, there's 1, there's 1. None of these are negative. Okay, so those are all polynomials in more than one variable. The degree of the term of a polynomial is the sum of the exponents of the variables of the term. So we're going to add up all the exponents. This one has 3. This one would be 1, 2, 3. Okay, this one's 2 right there. And then this y to the 1 would be 3. So those are all third degree terms because they all have 3 if we add them up. Okay, this one has 2 plus 3, so that's 5. This one's just to the 5th, so that's 5. This one would be 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1, so that would be 5. So these are all 5th degree terms. Polynomials are usually written in descending order of the powers of one of the variables. So if we had 4x to the third plus x squared plus 2x minus 1. See how they're in descending order. So the highest, the third first, then the second, then to the 1, and then to the 0. That'd be x to the 0. So you go down. The rule for adding polynomials. The rule for adding polynomials is that like terms may be added. So when we add, we're just going to add like terms. So on here we have x to the third, and on this one we have an x to the third. So we can add those together. 1x to the third and 2x to the third would be 3x to the third. Here we have x squared, so we've got positive 3x squared. We don't have any x squareds over here, so we're just going to write that down. And then we have plus 2 and plus 4, and that would be plus 6. And that is not a very good pen color right there. So let me write that a little darker. So we end up with 3x to the third plus 3x squared plus 6. All right, hope that made sense to everybody. It's really easy. It's just kind of jargony. This lesson is. So as long as we understand the terms, what they're talking about, like terms, meaning that they are alike, their variables are the same. So that one's the same as that one. All right, let's try another one like that. All right, so this one says add, write the answer in descending order of the variable. All right, so we've got 3x to the fourth, and then we have x to the fourth, and we're subtracting. This means minus, okay? So 3x to the fourth minus 1x to the fourth, we would have 2x to the fourth. All right, descending order of the variable means we have to go down. So the next one, we did the fourth, now we're going to do the third. Negative 2x to the third minus negative 2x to the third. So that means negative 2x to the third minus negative 2x to the third. These are going to cancel each other out. Negative 2x plus negative 2x, right? So that means that there are no 2x to the thirds in that one. Because we have to change the sign of every single one of these in here. That becomes a minus, that becomes a plus, and this one becomes a minus. Okay? Alright, so we have our negative 2x to the third right there, and then our positive 2x to the third right there. Negative and a positive are going to get rid of each other. Alright, so the next one, squared right here, minus x squared. We don't have any x squareds over here to put that with. And then we've got plus 3, and we don't have any other. So it should be let's see if I wrote that right. 3x to the fourth minus 2x. Okay. Yep, so that's the answer to that one. All right, let's try another one. All right, so this one is 3x to the third plus 2x squared minus x plus 4, and then minus x squared minus 7x minus 5. Okay, so we have this minus right here. That means we got to change all these signs. So we're going to change that to this one to a minus, this one to a plus, this one to a plus. That's the easiest way to do it. Just change that to a plus and change all of those. All right, so 3x to the third. We don't have any other x to the thirds in this side, so we're just going to write 3x to the third. 2x squared. We do have an x squared. So we have 2x squared positive minus 1x squared. 2 minus 1 would be 1. So we're going to have plus 1x squared. Okay. Minus 1x, that's x to the 1, And then we've got this turned into a plus 7. Okay, 7x minus 1x would be 6x. And then we've got plus 4 and plus 5. 5 and 4 would be 9. So 3x to the third plus x squared plus 6x plus 9. Right, there is the answer to that one. So all you're doing is you're finding the variables that are the same and you're putting them together. You're just going to be extra careful when that's a minus sign in between those two, because that means that you have to change all the signs inside the second one. So you're distributing that minus out. Minus there, negative times a negative makes a positive. Negative times a negative there makes a positive. Okay, so just change your signs inside that second parentheses. All right. What's next? Practice problems. Do the practice problems and pause the video, do them, and then I'll work them for you. Alright, so hopefully you pause the video and you work those problems. We are going to start with A here. Write the answer in descending order of the variable. They've already got it set up in descending order here. Alright, so I have a negative sign out here. So that means everything in here I've got to change its sign. I'm going to go ahead and write it down with its sign changed. And then I'm going to change the sign right here to a negative. And then I'm going to change the sign right here, turns into a positive. And then I'm going to change the sign on this one, turns into a positive. Okay. Alright. So now I've got that, and I'm adding it to these. Alright. So first one is negative 3x to the 5th. Over here, I've got a positive x to the 5th. Negative 3, positive 1 is going to be negative 2x to the 5th. Okay, next one is 6x to the 4th, and it's a negative 6, and I've got negative 1. Negative 6, negative 1 is going to be negative 7x to the 4th. Here I've got positive 7x to the 3rd, positive 3x. Oh, that's not to the 3rd, that's squared. I don't have any x to the 3rd on this side, so I'm just going to bring this guy down. So positive 7x to the 3rd, because there's nothing for me to add to it. Now here I've got a 5, but here I've got this x squared. I have to get him in first. So plus 3x squared. And here I've got this negative 2x, and I don't have any regular x to the 1 terms on this bottom one, so I'm going to have to just bring him down. Now I can put my 5 and my negative 8 together. Positive 5, negative 8 is going to be negative 3. Alright, let me double check that answer. Make sure I got it right, because sometimes I get it wrong. It's 40. Alright, so I should have negative 2x to the 5th minus 7x to the 4th plus 7x to the 3rd plus 3x squared minus 2x minus 3. Alright, that is the correct answer. Okay, work the next one. Alright, so this one, we've got to change all of these signs. So I'm just going to go ahead and write them down. Negative 15x to the 4th. And then we're going to change that to a negative 2x to the 3rd. And I'm going to change that one to a positive 6x squared. And I'm going to change that one to a negative 5x. And then I'm going to change that one to a positive 3. Okay, so now my highest variable here, my highest exponent is this one, negative 15x to the 4th, and then I do have an x to the 4th over here. It's not written in the right order. Alright, so I've got x to the 4th, that's positive 1, negative 15, that'll be negative 14x to the 4th. Alright, so I used up that one. Now I've got negative 2x to the 3rd, and I don't have any x to the 3rd terms on the top here, so I'm going to just say negative 2x to the 3rd. Just write that one down. Alright, next I have positive 6x squared, and up here I have a positive 3x squared. So positive 6 and positive 3 would be positive 9x squared. Then next I've got negative 5x, And up here I've got negative 6x. Negative 5 and negative 6 will be negative 11x. And then I've got plus 2 and plus 3 would make plus 5. So let me double check that one. Negative 14x to the fourth minus 2x to the third plus 9x squared minus 11x plus 5. All right, so that is the correct answer to that one. All right, so that lesson was pretty easy. You're just adding like terms, basically. Main thing was there was some terminology, some jargony words, but we've got through it. So if you have any questions, you can just message me. And thanks for watching.